Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam, I'm an artist and illustrator coming to you from Dublin in the Republic of Ireland. You can find me all around the internet looking for Irish farm art on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, on Ravelry and on Lovecraft. And as well on my brand new Instagram account, an Irish Knitting Podcast, just to keep consistency. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for coming by. This is my attempt, although I really should stop saying attempt, as it is the 30-something episode of my knitting podcast. A show, a video talk in which I try to follow the classic knitting podcast schedule, talking about my finished works, works in progress, and behold, acquisitions this time, and everything under kind of the eyes of myself being an artist, a crafter, and having this urge to create. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. This really means a lot to me. Please, all of you, consider to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, as they say on the YouTube thing. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for everybody who entered my Kal. I'm running a Pride Month Kal called the Rainbow Kal 2023 or Rainbow Kal 23. It's basically a knit-along that I wanted to start to show some support and awareness for LGBTQA+ rights. And of course, it's June, it's Pride Month, it's LGBTQA+ month. So yeah, I thought it was a nice thing, and I'm seeing a lot of people sharing with me their projects, their ideas, their yarns. Let's talk about this very quickly. So to enter this knit-along, you just need to knit something, start a project, choose a yarn which is on the rainbow spectrum, the rainbow color, which is in the rainbow colors, or any other colors of the Pride flag. And of course I will put some resources down here so you can have a look at the color combination, and if you wish, enter this knit-along. To enter, you would need to follow this channel or myself on Instagram, use the hashtag Rainbow Kal 23, and perhaps tell me something about why is it meaningful to you to join the Kal, why you wanted to join the Kal, or if you have any experience with fighting for LGBTQA+ rights. That would really warm my little heart. And of course the Kal will end at the end of June, and I will announce the winners on this channel. Be aware of fraudster, there are so many around there. I will never ask you for details. You will come to me and share your details, and the winner will be announced on video, on camera here. There's not going to be a message sent, nothing like that, so be aware of that and keep following to know who the winner is. Winning wise, I was afraid in my previous podcast that I wasn't able to get any prizes done, but I've been so lucky that this community is so great that we actually got a few patterns that are going to be donated by a very talented designer. We got a couple of balls of yarns donated by other knitting people around the internet, and of course I will give my contribution with this skein of yarn. I'm gonna talk at length about this yarn. This is an Irish yarn that I got in my stash for quite a while and I never managed to knit up. And now that I've knitted it up in a project. I absolutely love this, so I got a further skein that I want to share with you. We'll go back on this skein later. So this channel is very small. My Instagram following is extraordinarily small as well. So there's a big chance for you to win. So I urge you just to enter the call, need something pridey, and that will make everybody happy, and you will have a very big chance to win some nice yarn, some patterns, and be part of the amazing community and support LGBTQA plus rights. So enough talking about the call. Sorry for my miss today. I am just back from the gym. I have been exercising so much, trying to lose weight, all the shebang there. Summer is coming. COVID hasn't been kind to me. I know this may trigger someone, so I'm not going to linger that, but triggers me a lot. So I didn't have the energy just to jump into the shower and get ready for the podcast, so you get me natural as I come after a gym session. Also, I decided to start to film this podcast a little earlier in the week because I couldn't film last week. I was swamped in work, and I have the dentist tomorrow, which is not going to be good news. I know that already, and I don't know for how long my face will be numb and not nice to see on camera. So here we go today. It's going to be a long podcast, I suppose. There are a few things I need to go through, and I was thinking that it would be a great idea to film this shamble. It's probably going to be an hour long or something, and it's probably going to take me the full day to film and to, how do you say that, to modify on the computer and then upload it. I'm not going to think about that. On top of that, I'm working, so I'm technically on call, keeping an eye on my computer and talking to you. It's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. Let's start with the finished works. Finished work number 1. I talk about these socks before in my podcast, but they weren't finished. They were just off the needles, a little bit damp. Now they are finished, and they are absolutely gorgeous. This is a new pattern that I designed that I am launching. You can find the pattern on Ravelry and Lovecraft for sale right now, so jump in, go, and thank you so much if you're supporting my pattern through Ravelry, Lovecraft, or through Coffee as well. It's a great support for me to get this channel a little bit running. These are called, I decided to call them the Magnus socks. Magnus, apologies for the pronunciation, Irish friend, but it's an Irish word that means playfulness. And the playfulness is on the fact that it's a fully ribbed sock, and the ribbing, it's extraordinarily simple to make, but it's kind of mind-blowing. It reminds me a lot of a brioche, although it's not brioche. It's extraordinarily squishy and just beautiful, very easy to follow, very fun to knit. And if you choose a self-striping yarn like this one, and we'll get to the yarn in a second, it's going to knit up in no time. Basically, the repetitions of the patterns are the stripes of the yarn. It takes no time, one stripe's called the other, so you won't even think about those. The design itself, the ribbing on the sock, I don't know if you can see from the blocker, but I have another sock here. I'm going to try to stretch a bit for you to see. Here we go. This is called the mock English rib or the Mussolini rib. I found this pattern in an old magazine that my mom had in her library. And I suppose from the name of the pattern is a very, very old pattern, like a 1920, 1940s type of thing. It's basically a combination of knits and pearls in different rows that creates this beautiful, I'm saying ribbing, but you know what I mean. It's elastic, it's very elastic and very squishy at the same time. It's exactly what I wanted in a sock. I started this as a regular ribbed socks, but then I was like, why don't we try to do something more creative with these socks? And I took out the pattern. I have knitted a full jumper in this mock English rib before, and it was absolutely beautiful. So I was like, let's try and make it work for a sock, and the result is mind-blowing. I would really recommend it. If you don't want to buy the pattern, just Google Mussolini rib or mock English rib and you get the stitch pattern and you can try it. It's just stunning. I want to use this everywhere. The sock itself is knitted from the cuff and down with a afterthought heel or a peasant heel. Basically in the pattern I give instruction on how to put a lifeline and then start your heel afterwards, like it was an afterthought heel, and a classic decreasing wide point or toe. All in all, it's super easy, super fun. I warmly recommend. The yarn that I use, it's a DK yarn. You'll be surprised when you read the pattern for the needle choice and the gauge. I decided to go with a tighter gauge for a DK weight yarn for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm not extraordinarily experienced with knitting DK socks, and this is probably my first pair. And therefore I was afraid that it will become massive and not really be a nice fitted sock to use every day, but like a sleeping socks, a house sock, which is not the case if you go down gauge and you need a tighter gauge. The tighter gauge though doesn't affect the texture, the ribbing situation, because this is such a squishy fabric. Creates such a squishy ribbing. It seems like it's knitted in a regular DK gauge, so it's an interesting combination. And the second thing is that they are actually everyday socks. I can use this in a pair of shoes and there's no problem at all. The fabric is not that thick that is actually cumbersome, and they are very warm and nice. The yarn is from a West Yorkshire spinner, Color Lab DK, and it's called Technicolor. Yes, you get it. It's a beautiful rainbowy sock yarn, 100% wool. This is probably another of the thing that made me choose a tighter gauge, because it's 100% wool. Doesn't have any nylon content. I was afraid that there wasn't much strength in the sock, so after a few wears the yarn would just wear off and get destroyed. With a tighter gauge, this keeps the yarn together a little bit better. For the contrasting heel and toe, I use Drops Charisma, which is 100% wool DK yarn. I have left quite a bit of yarn from the main skein, so potentially I would have been able to knit the full sock with the rainbow yarn. It's your call. I do like the contrasting heel and toes in my socks anyway, so here you go. This is my first finished work, the Magnus socks. Once again, apologies Irish friends if I'm not pronouncing this right. Let's go on with the works, the finished works, and we got a jumper. It's not finished, but I'm calling this a finished work. So here we go. This is a Marius sweater number 3, which is knitted in this beautiful yarn here. Let me talk about the yarn first, and then we get into the sweater. The yarn is Studio Donegal Darni. I'm gonna read some of the description here. It's approximately 410 meters by 100 grams skein. It's a 2-ply yarn, and the color here is 8802, and I use in combination with this dark blue, which is 8814 or something like that. For the full jumper, I knitted the first size in the pattern. If you have the pattern, is a wonderful pattern from Sandnes Garn. I think I've knitted it like 3 or 4 times already. It's my to-go jumper. I know that they fit extraordinarily well, fits really well on me, and yeah, they're just very good fun. We have a lovely color work and all of that, and this yarn is absolutely perfect for color work. So I bought this yarn during COVID, because I remember going into the shop, and the shop was just a regular shop here in Dublin. They had a little table set up outside the shop. They wouldn't let anybody in. You go there, you ask them to see some yarn, and then bring out whatever yarn you ask for. So I went down there prepared. I was like, I want Irish yarn, possibly 4-ply, and yeah, 100% full. And they brought a big basket of this Darni Studio Donegal yarn with all beautiful colors, and I picked this color in combination with this blue here, completely out of my comfort zone, but you know, it was COVID. I was knitting blue and grays. I wanted something new. Now, because it was completely out of my comfort zone, because it's a very rustic yarn, because I have a ton, or I used to have a ton of Holstgarn super soft yarn, this felt quite similar to that. So I was like, why am I ruining this beautiful skein to knit up something while I have similar colors in Holst? I can do that, and I just procrastinated a lot and I never got it done. Now, the other week or a few weeks ago, being so frustrated about not having a proper jumper quantity of yarn, having to play yarn chicken with everything, I pick up 3 skeins, these 3 skeins plus 1, that I was sure would give me a jumper. Turns out I just needed 2 skeins of the main color, probably half a skein of the contrasting one. Anyway, this to say that I just broke in and started using this yarn. From the very beginning, it turned out to be the perfect jumper yarn for me. If you're used to Holstgarn, this is very similar in terms of rusticness, of toothness of the yarn. So it's a little bit toothy to knit with. Would recommend using metal needles. But it doesn't have the spinning oils that Holstgarn has. So when you knit up, it already creates a nice lofty fabric. This is washed and everything, and I don't see much of a blooming situation like you would see with Holst. With Holst, you have the yarn spun into the bobbin, drenched in spinning oil, so it's very stringy, and when you knit it up, it looks like a web. Then you wash it and it becomes fully bloomed, nice and squishy. Darni from Studio Donegal, it's already washed. Now, a skein is about €14 here in Ireland. I understand that maybe the price in Ireland is a little lower because it's produced here. I don't think this is 100% Irish wool, but it's definitely manufactured in Ireland. 14 euro, you get 2 skeins, is 30 euro. For 30 euro, you get a full cone host. I think I still prefer host for quality and price, but at the same time, I think this is a very good alternative if you want something that doesn't require much care, much washing. It's already washed, already nice. And for us Irish people, or Irish living in Ireland people, this is a very, very good choice of yarn. You support a local meal, and it's available everywhere, literally. So you don't have to import yarn from abroad, incur in taxation and stuff like that. So very good, very good, very good. I'm donating this skein. This was a leftover from this jumper, and is too beautiful to keep. I was tempted for a little while just to get another skein and knit up another jumper in this color. But first of all, I want to share this interesting finding with someone out there. And then secondly, do I really want another yellowish mustardy jumper? I don't know about that. So that's basically it. Something else I wanted to say about the yarn. Yeah, I mean, I use 2 skeins, but you know, I'm not the smallest of the people, and I made a full jumper, which is probably going to be, doesn't fit the camera, going to be bigger than my size. There's gonna be ease, and then I knitted the sleeves as well. So I think that with this skein you can definitely make a smaller jumper, a female size type of jumper, or definitely some accessory like a shawl or some gloves, or a jumper for a baby. It's as well, I haven't tried the jumper on, but it feels very nice and soft. It doesn't itch, and you know, I am absolutely against itchiness. So let's go into the pattern. It's a bottom up jumper with sticking situation. So basically you knit up the pipe, the tube of the body, you create a beautiful collar. Sorry about that, I got a call because my alarm system is, as the guy just said, acting the maggot. So it's not working. All this morning and last night the siren started shouting. It was just craziness, so I'm living in terror. Anyway, we were talking about the jumper. It's a bottom up jumper with sticking on the sleeves, and as you can see, I haven't sticked yet, and I thought would have been a great idea to do this together. First of all, because I have learned sticking on the internet, watching YouTube videos, so I don't really know if I'm doing everything right. So I would love some feedback from you people that are for sure more experienced and know how to do things properly. I really don't have a knitting group, a live knitting group to go, so I rely a lot on the feedback that you give me at every episode and learning through the internet. I would love to have a knitting group, to be honest. And the second thing is just, it would be nice bit of content, probably boring, but you're gonna laugh a lot because we're going to deal with sewing machine, with slashing through yarn, and all of that. Let's go back into the pattern. Bottom up, as I said 11 times so far. You knit up the sweater until the collar work. You start the collar work, and then you knit backwards and forward for the collar shaping. I have taught myself to knit color work flat wasn't pleasant. Now it's alright. It's not my favorite thing ever. This yarn helps a lot because it's quite grippy, so you don't slip the yarn through your fingers. I am a continental knitter, so I keep both strands of yarn on one finger and I purl with that. I should probably teach myself how to purl in Norwegian style, so I never flick my finger in front of the needle rather than leaving it on the same side, but I haven't managed to do that yet. I tried a few times. It's not happening anytime soon. I didn't make any modification for the body at all. I follow the pattern. The pattern is the pattern that gave me my 260 rule, so getting a waist of 260 stitches. I know that if I use fingering weight, if I use a combination of 2.5 and 3mm needles, I get a perfect fitting jumper. For the sleeves, I have gone down of a stitch count. So I started with what the pattern says, I gone up, and then the pattern tells you to increase at the underarm a number of stitches. I didn't get the full amount. I have done this before with previous Marius jumper that I've knitted, and it worked out well. It's a little bit less buggy, especially because we're gonna stick it now, so it's not going to look great. Anyway, I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but we're gonna get our sewing machine out. I am going to follow the full process as if I was alone, and then yeah, we'll see what turns out. So let's go on with the works in progress now. So first work in progress is living in this tote bag. I don't have any project bag. I probably should invest some money in a decent project bag, but that hasn't happened so far. So this is going to be huge. You've seen this a few times already in the podcast. I'm not probably going to mention this many more times. This is a blanket that I'm knitting, and you can tell it's massive. I'm not going to unravel this. This is a crochet blanket using 100% scrap yarn, ends of skeins like this blue here from Studio Donegal will definitely go into this. I'm trying to use yarn doubles or 3 times knitted together because I want to get a decay sort of weight, and you can see there are all the colors. It's actually quite beautiful, and it looks very pretty on camera, to be honest, probably better than in real life. This is a crochet blanket, and I'm knitting entrelac stitch, which is a technique of Turkish crochet. I'm not a crocheter, so I can't be much more eloquent on the crochet technique, but it's definitely quite nice, engaging, mindless. I just knit on over and over and over again. One line, one row of entrelac crochet, which one row is basically one full stack of squares, takes me about a day to crochet, which tells you a lot. My speed on crocheting, and as well the length of this thing. This is fitting perfectly my bed, which is about 2 meters wide, so fitted the bed and falls down a tiny bit. The plan is to crochet up 2 meters tall. My bed is an Irish king size bed, or super king size bed, which is 2 meters and something on length and 2.5 meters of height, if I'm right, something like that. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Will take me forever and ever and ever. I'm not planning to get this done anytime soon. I just want to get rid of yarn, to be honest. The entrelac stitch is very tough. It's not squishy at all, but it creates a big, thick volume of fabric, which is good for a blanket. Now, don't unsubscribe for what I will be saying right now. Don't get mad at me. Actually, if you manage to convert me, please do. I really need to figure out. But what I'm saying is that I'm not enjoying granny squares. I find them very holly, very see-through, and what's the point of a blanket if it doesn't give you warmth and cover you? It's just like a web. I understand granny squares for, I don't know, an embellishment of a pillow cover or something like that. I don't on a blanket. So I know that granny squares are all the thing right now, are very popular and people love them, and I really wish I was one of those. If this blanket was knitted in granny square, it would have been finished probably. How do I fall in love with granny square? This is the question. Anyway, I'm keeping it here in my bag. Oh, in my bag, and this will be a project for the next year or so. Next in line is another jumper. In this case, it's a cardigan. So this cardigan is living in this bag. I got this bag back when I was in my music school here. This is from Vienna World. It's a Austrian brand that does everything related to classical music. In this case, we have a piece of Beethoven. I think is a string trio, something like that. Beautiful. I always wanted to get more of these bags. It's just that they are quite pricey. Well, anyway, inside this bag we have a memory of a jumper, of a cardigan, and I have knitted the back of the cardigan. This is knitted in PC, backward and forward, and one of the fronts, a piece of the front, with though a little pocket, like we have a pocket. I spoke at length about this pocket last time. I stopped working on this because I didn't have any yarn left. This is knitted up in Drops Lima, which is a combination of wool and alpaca yarn. It's an Aranway yarn, so it's quite lofty. It's probably my favorite Drops yarn so far. So I didn't have any left, but look what just came in the post. This is a full stack of Drops Lima. I haven't opened it yet. Let me do that now. Here we go. Drops Lima. Sorry for the rustling. You're probably familiar with Drops Lima. This is 21 stitches by 28 rows in gauge, 50-gram balls by 100 meters, 65% wool and 35 alpaca. It's soft, it's drapey, it's extraordinarily not itchy. I don't know how they do that. It's just amazing yarn, super cheap as well. €2.50 per ball, so you get a full jumper using 10 ball, €25 jumper. Not even H&M. Anyway, I did have 4 balls and I managed to do the back piece of one of the sides. I still have the rest of the other front and then the 2 sleeves. So I got how many? 8 or 9 balls. I don't think I'm gonna use them all, but considering that I am awful at getting the right amount of wool, I think that was the right choice. I can use the rest in my blanket, or I can definitely use them in another jumper. This is really easily available in Ireland. So the first thing that I want to do is to measure my sleeve and the cut situation. So I'm going to lay flat one of the sides of the jumper, and as well lay flat the opening of the sleeve. And I'm just going to quickly mark with one of these pins where the sleeve will end, which is approximately here. You see, it's the exact length of the opening of the sleeve. Now, using a contrasting color of yarn, and in my case I use this red sock yarn, I will go ahead and mark the opening from the side of the jumper to where my little mark is here. And the way that I like to do that, this is by the way fully blocked, so I could do that without even thinking, but is to go through the very edge stitch, and I left my marker here just to have an idea, and then just walk my way following the line of the stitches down towards the marking. And I do like to leave a bit of a knot where the edge is, so that I know that I have to stop there. So this is one, and now we're gonna repeat this with the other sleeve opening. In this case though, I do like to follow the line of the one that I just made. This because it gives me a little bit more consistency. If the two sleeves are not well blocked, it might be that one opening is bigger than the other. So I'm just moving my marker down towards the other opening at the same height, and do the same with the thread. So from the very edge corner all the way down, and I'm being very loose with my thread. This will come off anyway. So now is the fun part, and I'm expecting huge troubles here. We are going to sew two safe lines of zigzag stitches with, of course, a sewing machine. I am using the wider zigzag option on my sewing machine, some blue thread, and we are going basically to sew a line down each side of this thread that I marked to make a little bit of a safeguard. Although this yarn is pretty grippy, wouldn't probably need anything, but I need to be on the safe side. I'm going to cut through hours of color work, so you know what I mean. So the way that I like to do that is to pass my jumper through the sewing machine like this, align my foot with the line of stitches that is just beside that thread, and then pray God that everything will go right. Okay, let's go. I'm sweating here. I really hope you can see this, and I am going to press the foot now.
Now we need to turn, so I'm going to lift my foot a bit, turn my jumper, get a couple of stitches at the turn, and then with my needle down, lift up again and sew all the way down on the same line. I don't know if you can see anything on camera. I really hope so. I am going actually to do the turning thing on the bottom as well, just because I want to make sure that everything is right and tight. So people would tell you to do another pass on the same, but I couldn't be bothered. I'm afraid enough, and this machine is my worst enemy, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So here we go. We got our sword safeguard type of thing. I don't know if you can see from the camera. I'm going to now cut through the color work in the middle of the two sewing line using this very old but really sharp pair of scissors. I will keep the red thread in until the very end. I will remove this at the end of the process. I'm really afraid here, so putting my hand in the jumper just because I don't want to cut through something I don't want to. So at the bottom here, right above the seaming line, here we go. This is very scary. I just cut through between the two lines, and I need to be very careful not to cut any stitch, and I might actually need to shut up, otherwise I get in trouble here. Okay, we have an opening. It looks like a wound, so let me quickly tie this up a little bit. I'm not bothered in removing everything at this point, but just to be a little bit more cinema worthy and not to have 1,000 ends. All right, so now that we got that, we can start the proper sewing of the sleeves. So I got my sleeve here. I am a little bit, how you call it, biased by a bit of sewing experience. So the first thing that I do is to clip in place everything using these interesting smart clips here. So I align the bottom with the bottom of the sleeve with the bottom of the body of the jumper, and I put a clip, and then because everything is being blocked quite thoroughly, I have a sort of a folding mark of what is the top, and I'm going to do the same, align the top of the sleeve with the top of the jumper. I put another clip. So now, in theory, everything is nice and aligned. Now I left on my jumper a long thread where I bound off the sleeve, and I'm going to use this thread to sew my sleeve in place, and to sew it I'm using the so-called mattress stitch. So I thread my needle, and then from the very bottom I just stitch towards the outside of the sleeve like so. So then I can start literally the mattress stitch to put everything in place. Okay, so now we have our last stitch, and I'm back at the bottom of the sleeve, so I'm going to thread my yarn back in where I started, turning inside out. And as you can see, hopefully you can, we have a little bit of a piece of facing. This will go on the top of the actual cut piece here and cover it. These are just a few rounds of knitting on the wrong side of the sleeve. So I haven't been able to find any information on how to do this properly, but the way that I like to do them, let me cut off this yarn here, is to just very quickly thread my yarn up and down towards the little bit of facing without showing the yarn on the right side of the jumper, and just catching that live stitch situation. And this is just a very loose type of sewing, because I found that it tends to get the opening a little bit bulky, and I want to avoid that as much as I can. And you don't really need a facing, because we really went quite heavy with the sewing machine, so it's just for adding a little bit of security and as well closing up the thing.
So I really hope you enjoyed that thing. I certainly did enjoy very much to share it with you, and I loved the final result. If you have any recommendation for me, please let me know. I'm always eager to learn, and if I'm doing something wrong, please let me know, because it's why we're doing this, why I'm sharing with you. So we are finally done. I've finished sewing in the facing, and then it's time to turn. I'm gonna find these little pieces of waste yarn everywhere for the next foreseeable future, for sure. And here we go. We have a finished stick jumper that we made together. I can't wait to try it on. Let me do that. I'm sure it will be full of ends. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Here we go. Get you a little bit of a show around. Now, we do need to wash this and block it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I do love it so much. And yeah, although the sticking situation has been quite rocky, sorry, I keep looking at the camera, the viewer, because yeah, it's the first time I try this on, and I'm so glad I have shared this with you. What was I saying even? Yeah, it needs blocking. It needs blocking, and it needs some tender care. Oh yeah, I need to look in the mirror. The first impression is great. I do love the color. Don't know if this is my color, but if it's not for me, it might be for someone else's, but I do love it very much. And you know what? It's not sticking, it's not itching at all. So yeah, great finding, great piece. I'm going to keep it on for the rest of this podcast, I think, and then this goes into the washing for sure. Oh my god, I'm speechless. Yeah, you don't need to see red waste yarn. Yeah, Sorry about that. I got quite emotional because, when you finish a jumper, it's just something new that you want to share, and it's a great achievement. Let's go on with acquisitions. The first acquisition you've already seen, a batch of drops Lima, and I'm going to hopefully finish that Lang cardigan. I don't know if I mentioned, was Lang cardigan number 20. It's a zipped cardigan. Never done that. If you have any recommendation for me for how to set or sew in a zipper, that would be great. And then just came to the post, so you're very lucky. Sorry for the crinkling. This is a batch of Peer Gynt yarn from Sandnes Garn, and I want to mention this shop here. It's called Lily Comme Tu. I don't know if my French pronunciation is any good, but it's a French shop that I've been mentioning over and over. Has a lot of those very famous Norwegian, Swedish yarns that all the podcasters are using and that you can't find here in Ireland. I mean, if you live abroad, probably you can find it easily, but here it's impossible. Getting them imported from the UK is off my budget currently. Sorry about that. Due to Brexit, the import taxes are just crazy. So yeah, I'm looking all the time for other venues to buy yarn. And a possibility for us is buying within the European Union. So French shops, Spanish shops, German shops, in my opinion, are the best in terms of price that you are charged for shipping. Italian shops are not good, although I'm Italian. They tend to be very expensive in the shipping. I think the post system there is really pricey. But anyway, I found this shop out of France and it's great. You order online, comes in a few days. That's amazing. I don't know how they do that. They charge very little for the shipping, and then the price of the yarn, it's very reasonable, and as well they have a lot of choice. I'm gonna crinkle now because I want to show you this yarn here. So we got a full stack of yarn. You remember this yarn from a Ridari sweater that I've knitted a few weeks ago. This is Peer Gynt from Sandnes, is DK, 100% wool yarn in the color Nougat Tutti Frutti. It's this beigey color with specks of colored yarn. It's like a tweedy yarn with these beautiful specks of every color. So after knitting the Ridari sweater, and I use this as main color, I was left with 4 balls of this yarn, and I really liked it. It's a very lovely color, and I wanted to get some more of this to knit something else. I didn't really need to buy yarn. It's an expense that I really don't need at this moment. With everything that is going on, it's just everything is so expensive. Anyway, let's not go there. But it was payday, and I was like, okay, if I don't do this now, those 5 balls are gonna live in my stash forever, with the possibility that this yarn is going to be discontinued. I think this is like a special. Peer Gynt is not part of the regular range, and I loved it so much, so I had to buy just a few balls. I think I got about, I don't know, 9 or 10. That allows me to get a full jumper in. Do you have any recommendation for this yarn? What would I need? I was thinking of getting that is Ingrid sweater from petite knit. I think that is it. It's like a textured jumper. I think it's a new pattern, but I couldn't find many projects, and the few people that have knitted it have come up with a massive jumper with a lot of ease, which is not my favorite thing. And I was kind of looking for something down those lines. So yeah, if you have any recommendation for me, any nice pattern, I don't think I want color work. I think I want to show this yarn in its full beautifulness and full glory. So let me know. That is it for this episode. I think we got enough madness. Once again, let me remind you of the knit along. So the knit along will be run for the month of June and will end at the end of June, and I will announce the winners, I don't know if one or more, on the next podcast after the end of June. It's a knit along to celebrate Pride Month, but especially to raise awareness around the danger that LGBTQA+ rights are facing around the world. So if you would like to take part, please be a subscriber and tag me on Instagram or on Ravelry or Facebook or Twitter, or send me a message saying that you took part and what's your YouTube handle, using the hashtag #RainbowKal23, and knit something in the Pride colors. Could be the rainbow, could be any other color of any of the LGBTQA+ flags, and I'll be putting resources down here so you can have an idea of the color combinations. Doesn't need to be a finished work, a cast on, or choosing your yarn. And if you want to let me know why you are taking part, or if you have a nice story to share with me around the connection with the LGBTQA+ community, that would be great. I will share as much as I can on my Instagram or here on Ravelry. On YouTube, what am I saying? Price-wise, we have a couple of patterns. I was trying to look for the name of the designer. This designer so kindly mentioned that she would like to donate 2 patterns to winners, and she's very, very talented. I will put her name down here, or I will mention her for sure in future episodes. And we have a skein of this lovely yarn that I'm donating to one of the participants, and as well Susan from the Wild Cottage Knitting here in Ireland. She has an amazing podcast, check her out. I'm gonna link it below here. She is as well donating a wonderful skein of yarn. I'm mind blown by the kindness of everybody. So yeah, please share the news, share, not just to publicize my knit along, that is not important at all, but to show support for the LGBTQA+ community. I'm going to repeat this over and over, and I don't really care if people decide to unsubscribe or leave this channel. I got a bit of a clash back, how do you say that? I know quite a few people weren't really into this, but I think it's important, and I think LGBT rights as our human rights are important. You wouldn't be happy if the rights of I don't know, schooling or private property or healthcare was taken out from you. So think about that when you hear something criticizing gay rights. Think about how difficult it is. If you couldn't marry tomorrow the person that you love, if you couldn't care for your children and they will be taken off from the government, or if you wouldn't be able to walk down the street wearing, I don't know, a tank top, That's not nice, is it? You would be very angry. Gay people, I feel like, are exceptional because although they are angry, they don't go mad. We accept that our rights are in progress, rights, but I feel like we shouldn't accept that. They are just human rights and they should be recognized as anybody else's possibility of marrying, anybody else's possibility of just walking down the street and feel safe. In my own experience, and I never share these things ever, especially on the internet, but I never felt any bullying, harassment from people. I never felt kept outside of any society or circle. And I'm very lucky that I come from a good family. They raised me with traditional values, and I was able to study, I was able to become a lawyer, to pursue my arts. But it happened as well that when you plan your holidays, and this is very frivolous, but I wouldn't go to some country, I wouldn't take into consideration some very beautiful countries to visit just because I wouldn't feel safe there as much as that. And even when I travel down to Italy, where my family is and where I'm from, I always feel very conscious about what I say, how I speak, how loud I speak, and loud not in terms of volume but in terms of openness. Something that doesn't happen here in Ireland. Although we are happy in Ireland, we can't consider ourselves safe all the time. Right-wing movements are coming up, although it's right that they have their saying, like everybody else's. It shouldn't be right that they mine human rights. I'm going on with this thing. I'm very, very sorry again. Anyway, I really appreciate coming to this channel today. And if you enjoy, please give this a thumbs up. I know that someone mentioned that clicking the bell notification button down here, I suppose it's a good way to get some visibility on this channel. If you want, please feel free. It doesn't cost anything. I will see you very soon. Bye bye.